If you do a quick search on YouTube on how to make Lightroom presets, you're going to find hundreds of videos on all the trendy editing styles. But what about just a good, natural, clean preset? What's up? I'm Jay LeBlanc, wedding photographer and photo video educator. Now, if you've ever seen any of my videos before or seen any of my work, you'll know that my editing style is very true to life. And when I look at YouTube and all these different videos of how to make presets, these step-by-step master guides, edit like the pros, look at my awesome style, look at my bright and airy, dark and moody, cinematic. You know what? Where's the true to life, timeless, natural looking presets? Today I'm gonna show you exactly my starting point preset of what I do to all my pictures when I first bring them into Lightroom. This is just my starting ground. It gives me a good natural looking picture, and guess what? I'm not even gonna try and sell it to you. I'm just gonna show you exactly how I do it. All I ask is that you take the time to go scroll down just a little bit, give me a thumbs up, and comment on this video. Even if it's just an emoji, I don't care. It just helps me so much. I'm not selling you anything here. I'm giving you this preset for free. Just do that for me in exchange. And let's get into this. And I'm sorry if my skin looks a little red on camera, but in the last 3 days, I spent about 35 hours on my boat. So I got a little bit sunburned. I guess, SPF 900 isn't strong enough for my fair complexion. Sorry. So let's jump into Lightroom, and you're welcome. Shut up, phone. Stop vibrating. I'm trying to make a YouTube video here. The disrespect is unbelievable from these notifications. So right off the start, I'm just going to use this engagement picture. It's just a picture. It's nothing special. It's just a picture I chose to show you my preset. So I'm going to work top to bottom. We're going to start with the basic panel, and I'm going to show you everything that I adjust going down in order. So you can follow along. Pause the video, rewind it. I'll timestamp it for you for each section, and you can just copy exactly what I do. I don't care. Do it. Please do it. I didn't make this channel to make money. Yeah, I will make a little bit of money from it, and that's nice and everything, but I made this channel to educate people and help photographers. And that's why I am here to show you exactly what my preset is for all my pictures. But listen, one day in the future, I might sell some presets. Who knows? But you know what? Those are for the people that are just too lazy to watch all my videos. But for those of you who are watching all my videos, you get them for free. So you're welcome. All right, so we're starting top to bottom. Very first thing we're going to do is in the basic panel, we're going to look at the contrast. My contrast, I bump up to about plus 12. We can say plus 12. You can do plus 15. Whatever you think looks good for your style. And before I go any further, let me note, I shoot with Canon cameras. This will vary a little bit if you shoot with different brands. So keep that in mind, especially when we get to the color adjustments. And I will remind you again, thank you for this quick interruption. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. Then we're gonna go down to the highlights. The highlights I like to bring down to minus 48. Why minus 48 and not 50? Because I like to make people uncomfortable. No, because I don't know, that's just where I landed. I'm dropping the highlights down to help recover some of these bright areas in the pictures. This picture doesn't really do a huge difference, but in other pictures, it does. And then I'm going to take my shadows up to plus 50. Yeah, this one's not 48. And this one's going up to plus 50. This is just going to open up the shadows a little bit, show us a little bit more detail there. We're going to almost flatten the image out here. Next, we're going to skip over the whites, and I'm going to the blacks, where I'm really going to start opening up this picture by going up to plus 72. I'm just going to type it in because my hands are shaking a little bit after the workout I just did. For those of you who are fitness nerds like me, put an empty barbell on my back and had to do 100 squats without putting the bar down. No weight, just an empty bar, 100 squats, can't put the bar down. Give it a shot after your next leg day at the end of the workout. It'll really burn your legs. The next thing I adjust is the clarity. I go minus here. Ooh, big controversial thing here. When clarity first came out, people loved jacking up this slider as high as they could go without it looking weird, even though it definitely did. People got a little heavy with the clarity slider. I'm actually going negative because I want to reduce that contrast, because later on I'm going to add it back in. Next, we are going down to vibrance. Vibrance I am going to put up to 13. And then the saturation, I'm going to drop to -10. Now, if you don't know the difference between vibrance and saturation, vibrance is more for those mid-tone colors. It's better when you want to adjust colors without affecting the skin tones too much. And it's a little bit more natural looking. For saturation, if something's really dull and boring, that's when we're going to jack up the saturation. But in the next step, in the tone curve where we add contrast in, adding contrast to an image will naturally increase the saturation. That's why I'm actually bringing the saturation down a little bit right now, because I don't want it to get too saturated when I add my contrast back in. Next, we go down into the tone curve, and we're going to look at the highlights, and I'm going to leave them right there at 0. My lights, I'm going to bring up to 9. Ooh, we got a little bit brighter there. Next, we're going to the darks. We're going to -4. Now, this one is very subjective. Your shadows. I like to bring my shadows down because I want my blacks to be black. Some people want them to be a little bit more gray. Some people want to crush them. It's up to you. I like to bring my shadows down to -49. And I will tell you this, like I said, this preset is a starting point. I will take that shadow slider and adjust it, depending on the image. If I'm shooting in a really low contrast situation, I'll bring that shadow slider down even more. And if I'm shooting in a high contrast situation, I might bring the shadow slider back up a little bit. It all depends on the lighting situation. That's my starting point. Like I said, we can always adjust a little bit, but this is our starting point preset. So that's it for our parametric curve, but then we're going to jump over into our point curve, and I'm going to make it real simple for you. Down here where it says point curve linear, we're going to click this, and we're just going to go to medium contrast, which is just going to naturally add in a little bit of contrast for us, but it also really conveniently adds all these points in spots that I normally add them in anyway. And what I'm going to do is adjust these later on if the picture needs it. Next, we're going to scroll down to the color mixer. Now, this is where it really becomes camera specific. Like I said, I shoot Canon. Canon cameras tend to be a little bit more friendly to skin tones, but they also tend to lean a little bit more towards the magenta side. If you shoot Sony or Nikon or Fuji or film and you upload it into Lightroom to tweak a little bit, this is going to vary. So this is where if you don't shoot Canon cameras, you might have to play with this a little bit for your own pictures to get it to your own taste. The things that I adjust is my reds. I like to bring down to -11, just because I feel like it makes the skin tones look a little bit more natural. The oranges I'm going to bring down to -5. The yellows I'm going to bring down to -11 as well. And the greens I'm going to bring down to -11 as well. So I'm making these adjustments mostly for skin tones, but I'm also bringing the yellows and greens down because when I up the vibrance in the basic panel, the yellows and greens get a little too punchy for me. And I just don't think they look realistic. Not everybody has those crazy green lawns that you see on MLS if you go to buy a house. And those real estate photographers that just love to make everybody's front lawn look like it's the most well-manicured golf course in the country. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about if you've ever been on Zillow lately. So that's why I choose to drop the saturation of the yellows and greens here. Next, I'm going to go down to the luminance, and we're going to take our reds up just a little bit to +8. And we're going to take our oranges up to +6. And the yellows, we're going to go to +4. And our greens, we're going to -12. And then magenta is going up to +13. Next, we're going to scroll down to our details, and for the sharpening, we're going up to 90. Now, you might say that sounds like a lot, but what I'm also going to do is I am going to mask it out and set this at 68. Now, here's a little trick. If you hold Alt or Option, it brings up this mask that allows you to see exactly what's being sharpened. And if you look at 68, it's really just the edges of things. And this is part of the reason why I dropped my contrast earlier, because I am sharpening those edges now to the point that I like, and not letting clarity just kind of take over and make everything super crunchy, and I don't like it. I prefer the look that this gives versus raising the clarity slider. Also, by lowering the clarity slider a little bit, It also smooths out the skin tones just a little, and especially when you're doing like close-ups of girls maybe getting their makeup done, they don't want to see every pore in their face. By dropping the clarity slider a little bit, it helps to smooth out the skin just a little bit, and I just think it gives it a little bit softer, nicer of a look. And then the very last thing we're going to do, if it's not already checked, is we're going to remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections underneath our lens correction. For this shot, I was shooting with the Canon RF 28-70, and it doesn't have a ton of chromatic aberration or vignetting that the lens correction would get rid of. With some of my prime lenses, like I love shooting with my Sigma primes, they have a lot of vignetting, and sometimes they could get a good amount of chromatic aberration. So just checking that box really helps bring those pictures back to life. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a preset. So I'm going to create preset. We're going to put it in a new group. Let's call it YouTube create, and we're just going to call it import because it's kind of the preset that I just apply to all my pictures on import. And we're going to check off only the boxes of things that we adjusted. So we got contrast, we have highlights, shadows, we didn't adjust the whites, blacks, clarity, vibrance, saturation. On our curve, we did both a parametric curve and the point curve. Color mixer, we did the mixer. We did not do point color. Color grading, we didn't touch. Sharpening, we did. Lens correction, remove chromatic aberration, enable profile correction. That's all we did. So we're going to create our new preset, and now we can go apply it to other images. So if we look at this image, the only other thing I would do, hit auto on my white balance just for demonstration purposes, show you the before and where those settings took us. Before, after, before, after. Big difference, makes the picture look really good. Did an auto white balance, and we made that preset together. So now let's go take this preset and apply it to a couple more pictures. Here we just have a standard bridal party picture. This isn't even the one that I delivered because one guy was not smiling. We want everybody smiling, right? So we're going to our import preset. Boom, look at that. Looks pretty good. It's a good starting point. This is almost good enough to deliver. Sure, I'd make a couple little bit of tweaks to it, but I like where it's at right now. How about a picture of a bride playing with her dress before she got into it? We're gonna go to our white balance. We'll hit auto just to make our lives nice and easy. Check out our preset. Look at that, it looks pretty good. It's not far off from what would be a final image. And again, if you just apply all of this during import, you're going to look at your pictures 80 to 90% of the way done already. Now let's check out some different lighting situations. How about indoor artificial lighting during a reception? This picture is also hilarious. Like, this couple were freaking awesome. I loved working with them. We're going to hit our import preset. Yeah, looks pretty good. All right, check out another picture. Here's a picture during a ceremony with harsh lighting. So we looked at soft lighting, we looked at artificial lighting. How about some hard lighting now? So you can see the shadows across the pole here on the bridesmaids' faces. You can see that the bride's face is kind of in shadow here. The back of the groom is getting direct sunlight. So we're dealing with a pretty hard light situation. We're going to hit our preset. Looks pretty good. I think maybe it's just a little overexposed. So if we brought our exposure down a little bit there. I mean, let's take a look at the before, after, before, after. Really, the most important person here that I'm looking at is the bride, and that preset just opens up the shadows on the side of her face, and it kind of helps fight some of those harsh hot spots that we see from the direct sunlight. And I like what we see. And let's check it out for one more picture. Here we got a bride during the bridal prep. I always love to grab a couple solos of the bride before she goes and see her man. So first thing I'm going to do, let's just do auto white balance. Ooh, that looks terrible. So let's just keep it a shot for this demonstration. And we'll just hit our YouTube preset. Looks pretty good. Maybe we'll have to drop the highlights a little bit more. And let's look at before, after, before, after. I think it looks pretty good. So what do you think? It's a pretty good preset, pretty simple, and it delivers a decent image. Gets you 80 to 90% of the way there to a deliverable image. And if you think you're going to do this yourself, why don't you just do me a favor? Like I said, I'm not selling you anything. If you like this preset, all I'm asking you, drop a comment below and like this video. and I will see you in the next one. Peace.